how's it going, guys? Welcome to the Nerd Age podcast, where we talk about everything nerdy. I am not your host, Mick. I'm your host, Josh.
Yeah.
Mick decided to leave us this week, but the show must go on.
Lurch.
During the most important week of summer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What's he
July
thinking?
4th.
No, Stranger Things.
Exactly.
okay.
Stranger Things week.
Stranger Things Volume 2. We're reviewing it. As usual, we got Jonah
What's up, everybody?
and then Corey.
Yes, sir.
We're here to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2, spoiler talk. So if you didn't watch the episode, watch it and then come back because we're going to be going heavy into spoilers.
Yeah. And we're going to go over the last two episodes that just came out, episode 8 and 9. So
Yep.
the season finale. And the eighth episode was called Papa.
Papa. Yeah.
And that episode was
So it basically started. We got everybody kind of in the different camps where we left off, and it starts with obviously 11 and what she's going through. It was very focused on Papa now trying to explain to her why he did things, but so it starts kind of with her wanting to go back to her friends, right? And the other doctor, I can't remember what his name is.
Owens.
He's willing to help her go, and Papa's like, no, he doesn't want to let her
You're not
go.
ready.
She's not ready.
Yeah.
At that same time, we know that the army is coming to take over that base, and the other thing that's happening with the other guys, the pizza guys, Will,
Pizza crew,
and Mike
Surfer Boy Pizza
and
boys.
Jonathan, they're trying to get to her, and so that's kind of just what the setup is with them. In Hawkins, everyone else is kind of like preparing. They have to go to get the weapons, and they're going to do all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of setting up this whole, like, everyone's preparing for something. I think one of the first big scenes that happens early on is we get the reveal of what Will has been drawing. He shows his painting. To Mike. And
What do you guys think about that? Because that was one of our like speculated things, and a lot of people have been speculating about what exactly that painting was going to be. A lot of people really hyped that up a ton, like he was going to profess his love to someone, or all this crazy stuff. But it turned out just being a cool kind of just piece about their group and how they played their different roles and stuff.
Yeah.
he was the heart of the.
right? I feel like it didn't make sense that it was anything else. Like if it would have been like, professing his love, I think it just wouldn't have fit with the story.
Right.
And I
Would have been
like
super random.
I like the way that he was like, oh, Elle commissioned it for me or wanted me to draw it.
See, I like that part of it. That was cool. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this makes sense.
Because it's like bringing
And also-
everyone together.
It also makes sense why she wasn't like, what are you doing? She never did that. She wasn't inquiring about it or
Right.
anything. And that makes more sense. Okay, cool.
So I'm a little different on that. I may have misread it. I thought he said that just because 11 wasn't there. Things are too. But because I thought 11 in one of the earlier episodes said like he won't let anyone see it. So I thought like he was using that to be like, oh yeah, 11 commissioned it just to like, I don't know. I thought he was saying that as a lie, because then it shows Jonathan and he like looks in the rearview mirror like he's eavesdropping and like I don't know. So maybe I misread that. To me, I really liked that scene because I thought the acting was really good. Again, my least favorite character is Wolfhard. What's his? Why do I keep forgetting his name?
Mike. Moneymaker Mike.
And I just think
Moneymaker Mike.
I think that was probably his best moment as
Yeah,
far
me
as like
too.
acting wise. Everything else kind of, but I thought Will was really good in that. And I, like you said, I thought it was cool. What I don't like is I feel like everyone has to make something romantic, when it comes to like friendship. And that could be what the writers are trying to go for, but I really saw it as like a friendship, right? Like a deep friendship
Platonic.
with someone that you know, like my best friends that I have, To me, that was like very well done. People can interpret it different ways, and that's fine. But for me, that really hit. It's kind of more like a Frodo and Sam aspect to it that I thought was cool, and I think that ends up leading up to other stuff that we'll talk about in the episode. But the whole heart aspect, like he's the heart of the crew. That's his role in the story.
Which they go into a lot more in the next
cool.
episode. Yeah. I liked it. I liked that little reveal. I agree with you. The Mike, or what's his name? Yeah, Mike. Mike's performance was good.
What's the guy's name?
I'm a fact checker over here.
Wolfhard.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I don't think this was the best episode just in general for me, but it was a setup episode.
Yeah,
And it was also
was-
really short too. It was 30 something minutes or something like that. What was it?
It was close to an hour.
I think it was an
Was
hour
it?
and 20. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, was it really?
Did you watch the right episode?
Then it felt like 30 minutes because it went really fast. So maybe it was actually better than I thought.
because basically you have the setup of
A lot of the-
everything going on in
yeah.
the bunker, and then everyone else is getting ready. They go to the supermarket. They're formulating their plan. That's one
Right.
thing that I like to see. We saw the continuation of Vecna showing Nancy what his plan
Right.
is, basically.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So show basically being like, hey, tell 11 what's up because I'm coming. I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of cool that he's just basically like showing his hand of like,
Yeah.
this is what's happening. And then we do get like the whole idea of like the 4 portals, which we've kind of already talked about.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. He needs to get the 4 portals to basically open up,
Yeah.
whatever. And that's kind of
I
what he
was-
showed Nancy.
I was kind of surprised that like he basically showed his hand like completely basically to Nancy. It was like, tell 11 about this.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be more of a thing where he kind of just like,
Tries to trick him or something.
yeah, like draws her out. Or it's like he was going to use her to draw her to him. But I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it later, but yeah, it wasn't really, it was actually just straight up. So I was kind of surprised at that because there's usually always like twists and stuff, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the twist. So that was cool because usually I can anticipate things like that, but they got me on that.
Yeah, so they go get the weapons. They
yeah.
meet Zac Efron, who's there
Yeah.
too, and they're
Jason.
getting all their weapons.
The
So
basketball
then
boys.
they leave. I really like this scene where they're kind of building the spears and Dustin, the stuff they did with Dustin
And Eddie.
and Eddie.
Oh, I love
Super
that stuff.
I knew at
I
that
love
moment
stuff.
when they were doing that, I was like, okay, one of them's going, and it's probably Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
So as that's going on, we also have Hopper in Russia and that whole thing where they're escaping the prison.
Yeah.
And then they've got Yuri who's trying to fix the helicopter. So we have all that kind of stuff going on. But I think really the focus of the episode is then back at the lab and the interactions with Papa and 11. What do you guys think of those interactions?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You.
The kind of stuff that they're doing. I thought that for me was the actor is really good. Like he's been really good throughout all the seasons. But I just think he's so creepy. Like you hate him, but you like. He kind of reminds me of Ben Linus in Lost, where you hate him, but you really just enjoy watching the character and how he acts and the stuff he does. Like to me, it's like he's a character you love to hate.
Yeah.
And you just,
Yeah,
so
that's-
to me, that
that's
really
super
worked.
accurate.
What do you guys think about all those interactions?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying is that it's really you kind of see his like the way he acts towards 11 and you're kind of like, "Oh, that's nice." He's always like, "You're my family." And then you're like, "No, you're just manipulating her." And
Yeah.
just the way that he delivers those lines is so well done. And then just he's over and over he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this, but really I'm going to
Yeah.
it's all for my benefit." But his whole line he's always saying is, "I did it all for you guys. I loved every single one of you."
Yeah.
And I think those interactions are really good. And yeah, I think you're right, Jonah. Like for me, it's like you kind of feel for him a little bit. Like you're like, "Oh yeah, that's
You want to feel
that's
sorry,
sad."
and then he does
and
stuff
then
that
you're
you're
like,
"No,
you're an
"Man,
idiot."
you're a terrible human being."
Yeah.
I like how we finally got to see his emotion in this episode. I think it's towards the end where he's like, "I'm not going to let you go." And he's like telling this, he's like basically telling the story to her, and he's like crying. And it's when 11 says, I thought I was the monster,
you're
but
the
you're the
monster."
monster. That was an awesome scene. And seeing him like actually like cry in that moment, I don't think he's trying to manipulate her. I think it's actually him, like his emotions, like getting the best of him. It's like everything coming up to the top. And yeah, I think those scenes were awesome.
Yeah, for me, actually, I think that whole lab sequence was actually pretty sad because seeing the way he was acting and the way how he basically brainwashed himself, to think, and he thought that like he knew best, and like if he can just control him, it's like through greed and also like this weird twisted like love.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't feel bad for him, but I feel sad because that was his life that he lived, was basically lying to himself and to other people, but also just in like trying to control that power.
Yeah.
And so it was something I haven't really experienced, that kind of emotion with the character on screen very much at all. Where they're manipulating and you almost root for them, but you don't, like you actually hate them kind of. It's like this love-hate relationship. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. Is that whole aspect to me was kind of like I think everyone's met like people that believe, like have done stuff and they end up believing their own lies.
Yes.
And that's kind of like for me, that was what that scene played out to be, was like, he's believed this whole time that he's trying to do what's best, and he's actually believed that. And so in that moment, when the person he loves, like he has a weird like love for 11 and number 1 and all those people, because he actually thinks they're his children, right?
Yeah.
He has this weird like deception that he has. So in that moment when she's saying, I've realized you're the monster, his acting is so well done there that you actually be like, he gets it in that moment, and then he reverts back. And so I just thought that was really good. I'll bring it back to something that happens at the end with what he does.
Right.
But is there anything else in the episode? I think basically everything is just kind of a big setup to what's gonna happen in episode 9.
I will critique a little bit on this segment where it's like, oh, it's your choice if you want to be here. Oh yeah. And then like, she's like, okay, well now I want to go. And then that moment where like, she's like, I want to go. And then he's like, it's not a prison. And he's like, phew. And then she tries to escape, and then bang, shot to the neck. And then everything explodes. It was really short, that moment. Yeah. And so it just moved super fast. And so it felt a little weird for me because you spent so much time on that whole like the beginning part where it's like, we're just trying to help you, and she's realizing, and then it's like boom, super fast movement, and then boom, they're outside and doing all that crazy stuff.
Well, what happens in the episode is Mike and the pizza crew are the coordinates. They're arguing. Argyle finds the tracks. So then they realize that that's military, so they follow that. Military's getting to the station. They lock up the good doctor, and they're about to do stuff, and then that's when the military attack starts killing everybody in there. And then
that end sequence outside with like the sniper and all the doctors just being just obliterated out there. I thought that scene was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
That was awesome.
This is the moment where this show started feeling like a movie to me because of how much crazy stuff was going on. So it started ascending to this more epic feeling story. And so I was just like, man, this is starting to feel like a movie. Yeah. So I was so psyched about it. It was so cool.
Yeah, I think we've talked about before, like this show just has really awesome shots. And that shot of her bringing the helicopter down is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Just the way that's all done was super cool. And then, I mean...
And then Papa getting just obliterated and stuff. Yeah. And then his last moment.
Yeah, so he puts the collar on her. But so here's the part that I was kind of wanted to talk about with him. I don't know how I feel about it. Because it's the aspect with him. He wants her to say, I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I love that she didn't.
She doesn't do it. And he's like asking for it. And part of me was like, he's dying. No, but I think that's what was great about the show. Is that to me, it made me even like, what would I do in that situation? Like,
right. Would you just lie to him?
He's done terrible things
to make him feel good.
But at the same time, I'm like, man, but what's her responsibility? Like, does she?
No, she doesn't have a responsibility.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, that's one of those questions, like, as humans that we all ask is like, are we supposed to forgive people that have wronged us? Like, we are. And so to me, it was done so well that it made me question, like, of course she doesn't deserve forgiveness, but should she offer that to him? And the way he was acting, just like pleading for it, basically, like, just say the words.
No, that's what made it
in
so
that
great.
moment, I was like, man, what do I want her to say? Like, part of me was like, just say it, and part of me was like, don't. And I just think that's the brilliance of the writing and the brilliance of the performances of both of them.
Yeah. They created this dynamic between those, like the relationship dynamic
Yes.
between them that made that possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
I was like, don't effing say anything. Like, I was like, how would you feel if you were basically captive for your whole life and
Well, yeah,
being experimented on? Like, there's no way.
It's
But
happened to me.
Yeah, you're like, I lived through that.
I've been through
I've been
that.
there. But no, I thought it was an awesome moment. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I agree. I think I felt the same emotion you did, where I was like, oh, maybe you should say that. But then I was like, no, don't give him
Yeah.
the satisfaction. Like, this guy's been basically manipulating all
Yeah.
these children for his own gain. And he's twisting it into him. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
the good guy. I'm the one that's like, I'm doing this because I care for you guys. And in that moment, he's at the end of his life and he just wants someone to validate
Yeah.
the life that he's lived. And in that moment, he wants Elle to be like, I forgive you, Papa.
Yeah.
And she still calls him Papa,
Yep.
but she doesn't say,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
She just says, like,
And it's like that
Goodbye.
silence, and that silence speaks a lot, right?
yeah.
And so that's almost like the same as like showing, not telling, but like just with the lack of a line, right? Like
Yeah.
the lack of saying anything, and then him doing the action of kind of like realizing I need to let go, and then releases her
Yeah.
from the chokehold, whatever thing.
Yeah.
That was cool. I thought that was really dope because it's like maybe at the end he realized, and that's why
Yeah.
he pressed it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's cool that we have that chance to kind of interpret, that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one before we move on. One of the other things I liked about this episode was there were really good character moments with, we already talked about Dustin and Eddie,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
him being like, hey, don't ever change. And
Yeah, that
Dustin's
was
like,
really good.
no, I don't plan to, kind of
Oh,
thing.
man.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was
Yeah.
like, one of them's going. And then also
Yeah.
Steve's, where he's talking about, I always thought,
Oh
I'd have,
man.
6
Yeah,
kids.
nuggets,
Dude.
the nuggets and the
And we drive in a,
his last name?
Winnebago and all that stuff. I was like, that's another moment. I was like, Steve's going.
Yeah.
Steve's going.
I
but,
think so too.
but yeah, they were really good. And then Max and, man, why am I
Lucas.
Lucas, yeah. They in that right
Yeah.
after that,
Yeah.
really good like character building moments where she's like, he's like, you don't need to do this. She's like, I have to, and he's like, they have that exchange of like, I'm gonna run to the light,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna run to darkness, which is
Gosh.
what she's been doing.
Yeah.
And it's just great setup for the last episode.
It felt like when you have like a war movie where like everyone has their sit downs before,
Yeah, right before they're gonna
everything
do
goes
the
down,
right before D-Day, yeah.
and kind of gives you a little bit of goosebumps, thinking about it, because it's like anyone could go. This is super dangerous, and they're just kind of pouring their hearts out before battle, basically.
Yeah, it was a great setup.
It was great setup.
They even talk. Robin even talks about like, oh, I don't know if we're all gonna make
Yeah.
it. Like, I think we're run out of luck, kind of a thing. And the use of music in it was cool at the
Yeah.
end. That song that they used in the trailer that I was waiting for. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a sweet song, and the way they rearranged it just fit perfectly for the setup for the last episode.
Yeah, so at the end of that episode, 11 gets rescued by the pizza crew. They take off.
Pizza crew.
The people in Hawkins have their plan formulated. Episode 9 is called the Piggyback.
Piggyback.
And so it opens with obviously 11 kind of, she's seeing what their plan is, right? Because she was kind of, I think she was.
They figure out the whole plan of they need to go. She figures out that she can go into Max's mind.
Because she
And
heard
if
what they were going to
yeah.
do. Because she heard what Max was going to go and confront Vecna and be like the bait. So they get to the
because she
pizza
was basically
place.
scrying, which
Yes.
is like a D&D spell, but yeah, spying on them. Basically.
Yeah, and so we've got the group in Hawkins, Max, Lucas, and Lucas' sister. They're going to go to the house, right? And be the bait. And then you've got Steve, Robin and Nance, and they're gonna go and try to kill Vecna while he's in the trance state. And then you got Dustin and Eddie who are going to
Lure the bats
Be the
away.
decoys.
And then at the same time, you got in Russia, Hopper. They end up saying, "Hey, we need to help them, so we're going to go back and kind of take out the particles, all the stuff." So it kind of sets up that everyone has a mission, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And then it also brings up, well, what's Zac Efron and the Wildcats going to be doing? You know. So it all sets up really good, I think, for the final episode. And I think it kind of starts pretty slow. There's a lot of moments where it's like they're setting up all these conversations, whether it's Hopper and Winona Ryder, Joyce, like their conversations they're having. Everyone's having like their final conversations with people, so it's kind of like giving you like who's gonna die, who's not gonna make it, right? So I thought that was really good. What do you guys think of kind of the build up of the show and the plan and everything?
Yeah, I think it was a little slower, but I think it was kind of like you have this time to work with. This is your time. If you're gonna take your time on stuff, this is it.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was good. I know a lot of people scrutinize the Hopper situation, but man, I like the scenes he's in. I love that character, and so I was cool that he he had that time with her, and that was cool. But yeah, the other guys, I mean, it all worked out. It wasn't super crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I like how everyone was set up, and the roles that they all played, I think, was really well done. My earlier in the season, my least favorite people were Pizza Crew, because I was like, I think we're just kind of like
they're floundering
until they can do something, and then we finally got to the point of like, okay, this is what you guys are meant to do. Yeah, which I think actually worked out well. I liked the role that they played, and I think Argyle wasn't really my favorite in the whole season, but he actually had
grew on me.
He had some pretty good. I liked. I laughed when he was like
when he goes into the pizza place with the other guy.
Well, when they're like, she talks about like a mind battle, and he's like, mind battle, righteous. And she's like, oh, I need a tub. He's like, got to be clean to enter the mine. I was like, okay, it's pretty funny.
He grew on me too.
I don't think he is currently over the top. I think they introduced him pretty over the top.
Yeah.
But I think he's good now. Yeah, it's good balance.
And I think one of the other complaints I had was with Charlie. Yeah, is that Will's brother, or is that the actor's name?
Oh my gosh,
Will's brother's Jonathan.
Jonathan. Yeah,
Charlie is the actor's name.
Oh, that's funny.
I like that they brought back, because that was my complaint about his character, is that they're like, he doesn't care about Will anymore, and that was his whole reason for existence in the other seasons. And then for him to have that talk with Will, and
that was a great moment
where they're like, he's like, hey, we don't talk anymore. And even Will's like, well, you're always like distant or stoned. And he's like, well, that's like, I'm dealing with stuff that's not your fault. And I really like that we finally had that acknowledgement of it, and to kind of bring them closer together again, because that's one thing. I thought, for me, it was something I didn't like in the beginning of the season, but now that they address it as like, it's not that we just like shipped them off and we're like, oh, give them something to do. They had a reason for it, story-wise, and they're now acknowledging it in this episode. So I think that makes it better for something that I didn't like early on in the season. For them to address it and kind of give a reason behind it makes it stronger storytelling for me. So I like that.
I also think their little storyline that they wrote for those two is not, not the weed part, but it is a relatable storyline where it's like,
I wish I had a good older brother, but
your brothers start drifting apart a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you have that moment where you like talk about stuff and you just open up communication, and it helps a lot. And so it's cool to see them have that bro moment, which I think we all can kind of relate to, having that understanding between brothers. I thought that was really cool. I actually really liked that moment. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great scene.
Yeah. So the episode continues. They get kind of 11 in the freezer with the water and everything. Max, they find Vecna, and she's kind of like trying to get him to start
kind of taunting
him.
Yeah.
And at that point is when the other the Wildcats, they know that they're at the house, so they go and so we know that they're gonna kind of screw things up. And everybody else in the Upside Down is set for it, right? They're just kind of waiting. But for me, I thought it was really cool how they did the whole Lucas, like, you know, she's waiting, trying to get Vecna to get her, and then Lucas starts, you know, she confesses the thing about her brother, and like, I wanted him to die, and like all this stuff, and then I wanted to die, and all this stuff, and then Lucas starts being like, "What's your problem?" Like,
Yeah.
and then she thinks that it's real, right?
Yeah.
And then in that moment, you get the voice starts changing,
And then you get the glossy eyes.
and then he's watching her, and she's in the trance, right? So I thought that was really cool how they did that. And then she's able to kind of run around through the house, but then she's able to think of the happy memory where they're at the snowball dance.
Yeah.
And so to this point, what are you guys thinking? I thought it was really cool how they were doing that, how they're trying to get 11. 11's not able to get there yet. She's in another memory, but there's
she's trying to
aspects
find the
of
memory.
it.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of do the whole Inception thing, a memory within a memory kind of thing, which I thought was cool. But I really liked how they did that whole thing with 11 trying to get to where she's at, but she's kind of a memory away.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, we did also have Eddie and Dustin
Yeah.
bring the bats away.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, with the
prepping.
with the electric.
Master Puppets.
Yeah,
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I think that everything was supposed to be synced up, so everything was kind of happening, you know, step by step.
Yeah.
It was just standard storytelling for kind of like a little mission to go down. It almost feels like an Ocean's 11 type thing, because you're like, this is what's going to happen. Don't stray from the plan. And obviously things are going to happen that aren't going to be planned. But yeah, I thought it was funny, just like, or not funny, but I thought it was just so cool having those moments between Eddie, you know, in the trailer and stuff like that. I just love that. So, but yeah, no, I think it just was smooth. I think at that point I was like, I wonder how much more time we have.
Yeah.
That's kind of the question. That's when I asked the question, because we kind of had this lull, not a lull, but like preparatory like time, basically.
yeah. For me, it wasn't like it wasn't like I was bored. I ended up stopping and then watching the second half of it.
Okay, yeah.
Just because of time constraints.
Yeah.
But at that point when I stopped was right this point we're
That's a
talking
good
about where
time to
she's in
stop,
the
actually.
snowball
Yeah.
dance, and I was like, still like an hour and a half left. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Because everything up to this point was like pretty packed in, and then I was like, okay, we still have more to get through. But yeah, I think the stuff with Max and the stuff with
Lucas.
Lucas,
It was the best. That was the
so
best.
good.
Yeah, so good.
Just having her confess that thing of like, yeah, he made my life miserable.
Dude, every time he uses his brother, also in those like flashbacks, boom, let me in.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so intense. I'm like,
It's
dude.
good. It's really well done. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff was super good. And then yeah, like you said, Lucas being like, saying like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
people don't fantasize about killing
Oh,
people.
dude,
What's
that
wrong
was
with
like
you?
that was like too real, dude. I was
it
like,
wa-
oh man.
It was super good. Yeah. And then yeah, up to this point, everything, because I think at this point in Russia, they've finally decided they're gonna head
They're
back.
going back. Yeah.
They're going back into the prison because they want to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone's killed in the prison. The particles have gone into the dead
Demidogs
and the Demogorgon.
Yeah.
So they're dealing with that. I think one of my favorite scenes, obviously, and it is on purpose, but when 11 finally gets into the memory, right?
Right, when she walks in, he's about to get...
going to get Max, and she throws him, and kind of that whole aspect. And Max has the conversation like, "Are you real? Like, is this in my mind?" And I thought that was really cool. They do a really cool thing with the pizza crew that's there, and the lights are flickering, and they're like, "Oh, she's fighting," and they're kind of all there. Like, they do a really cool thing going back and forth. Obviously, Dustin and Eddie, they're dealing with the bats getting into the place now. Dustin goes back up, and then Eddie cuts the line saying that, he's not going to run this time. At that point, I was like, it's over for him. But I just think everything is really, they're doing a really good job of like keeping the stakes high. Nance and Steve and Robin, they're going up in the room and then they
kind of got stun locked, dude. They're just
they got stun locked for a long time. They should have been dead because they did kind of choke them for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he is also focused on like fighting L, so.
And there's other things they had to stop them for a while to be like.
I think it's one of those like, this is going on. This isn't actually going on at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those like there's a bomb going off and the timer's going and then you're like, hey, wait a second. It should have been exploded already.
I'm counting these seconds, so I'm not lining up. I didn't worry about that too much.
But I think one of the best things I think of Stranger Things is the music. And the music, they just are masterful with how they kind of mix the synths with 80s music, with like switching it up with orchestral stuff. Like it's just everything fits. Like when Eleven's walking forward and the dun 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 dun, like everything is building. Like it's just so well done. From then I think we get Vecna's kind of, he's gotten the upper hand, right?
He's doing work.
And he's showing Eleven everything that's happening, right? He's like, I want you to watch, right? That's kind of how he's getting his vengeance. He says, you made me this way.
Right. So we get the flashback.
We get the flashback of show him like the mind flare and
like
how
the whole story of like what that world was before he took over.
Yeah.
That was
super cool. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
You see like a Demogorgon just
running around. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So that was really cool. It's just kind of building. Lucas is now fighting with Zac Efron.
Yeah.
That was really well done too, because you have frustration. You like, I know that the longer you guys are fighting, the worse off Max is.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Tension, and it's like you're so angry at this guy for fighting him for the wrong reasons, but you understand why he's doing it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, if you can evoke that frustration, that real frustration, that's really good writing.
Yeah, just the fact that he was like, you need to wake her up. And he's like, if I wake her up too soon, we all die. And he's like, well, then you're just going to die. That's what's going to happen. And you're like, gosh, dang it. That was super frustrating. Really well done.
And then him trying to explain it. Oh, what was her name?
Chrissy.
Well, she was trying to get some drugs from Eddie. And he's like, she would never do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, bro, it just wasn't helping. It wasn't getting any better. And it just was building. And that's what this segment of this is the accumulation of everything, but all the tension was building on all ends.
Yeah.
All ends.
At this point is then when 11 is there, she's watching, he's taking Max out. Like she's starting to levitate. It's
bad news.
Everybody's losing. And this is when Mike, then Will says, keep telling her, and then Mike tells 11 he loves her and gives the speech, and that's where she gets kind of the power and strength and everything. And she's able to get loose, and they start like, as you're watching that, and Max starts like her arms and legs start breaking. I was like, oh my gosh,
that was
like
rough.
That was tough.
Eddie's doing the same thing. Like Eddie's dying at that point. He's getting
Eddie. I had accepted, and I knew it was going to happen. And so that I was like, that's tough. But man, that's awesome that he turned that around and he's standing up for what he believes in. He's being a hero, which he said, I'm not a hero.
Right.
We're not heroes. We're a distraction. But he became that hero by self-sacrificing.
And then we have the demidog attacking Hopper.
Right.
He's like holding its mouth shut.
That was
so that's like where we leave this. All these terrible things are happening at the same time, and so it's that Mike giving the speech to 11 that really starts kind of turning the tide a little bit.
Joyce comes in with
the
shock
thing,
shock stick.
I think at this point the scene with Dustin and Eddie was just really well done. When he gets there, he's hurt. Dustin's hurt, so he's limping, and I just thought their dialogue, that death scene was really well done. It got me teary eyed.
So that shook me up.
It was really well done, and I just think we'll get in predictions later. We have to wait 2 years to the next season, but that was really good. 11 gets loose. You know, she
because
of Mike.
them flaming. No, well, and Mike, and also them destroying the Russian dogs and all those, and making that
everything.
disturbance.
He's weaker, and then at that point, when she throws him, right, she kind of stops him from killing Max fully. And then Steve and them go up into the room, and the stuff they did with Hopper getting the sword,
that was so cool.
the music that hit there, how it's in kind of slow motion, they're throwing the Molotov cocktail, all that kind of stuff, everything synced up to the music. I thought was one of the best scenes I've seen in a long time, TV and movies. Like, it was just so well done. I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah, at this point, I'm fully immersed in a movie at this point.
Yeah.
Right? There's no other option. I'm full in. But man, that was tough. That was tough to see Max, man. I'm going to tell you. And then I was choking up because I was already choking up before.
Yeah.
So I was set up. And then the moments with Max, I couldn't, bro. That was real tough, man.
Yeah, it was a cool, like you said, everything happening at the same time. You're kind of like, you're worried about Max, and then you're like, oh, you know, we got a chance to save her. All this other stuff's happening. My boy Murray coming in clutch with the flamethrower.
That's
Pretty
right.
sick.
Yeah.
It took him out.
But yeah, that scene with Hopper with the sword was like, that's one of those things that's like, in any other show, I'd be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, why was
There's
there
a sword there? But in this one, I'm like,
I was like, that was good. That was good.
Well, no, it was all set up right because the what are they called? The prisoners had their choices of weapons.
Right,
So
yeah,
that's true.
It's realistic that it would be laying around. But yeah, no, that's it.
It was sweet. And then the slow motion was super cool. And then, all of them throwing their stuff, and then Nance coming in with the shotgun.
The shotgun, yeah.
Was
She
pretty
always
sweet.
wants guns, dude.
I know.
She's always trying to load up.
So from then, I mean, those scenes are all great. And then Vecna obviously kind of says, you've already lost, right? So he gives that eerie, like, it's over, like, even though you think you won.
Right.
We get the scene with Max where she dies.
She dies.
And I thought that was like the best acting from Lucas.
Dude,
Like,
that
he
was
was amazing.
good.
And her. She's like,
It
I'm
was
scared,
really
I'm
good.
scared.
That was
Dude,
so good.
Bro.
That one made me cry,
Yeah.
bro. I'm not gonna
That
lie.
did too.
That was good.
Me too. I was right there with you, man. Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah, even like
They
just
cut a wombo combo,
just
bro.
her reaction of being like,
Oh man,
I'm not ready to go. I'm so
Yeah.
scared. And then him screaming for Erica,
Yeah.
like, Erica, help me,
That's
kind of a thing.
right.
I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
really well done.
And then, so that all happens.
that was tough. man.
Basically, the gates open up. Hawkins is like
So the bell tolls.
cutting, like, the bell tolls the
and
4
that
times.
signals that she did die. So
and
they get the 4th gate open.
and it's all Hawkins gets basically obliterated.
Yeah,
That to me, I wasn't expecting Max to die. I was like, I don't think so. But then also we get 11 kind of
saying you're not
basically
gonna die.
like healing her using her
Right.
force healing.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that? I was okay with it. Obviously, what they set up, she's obviously, her mind isn't, she later on she's in the hospital and visits her, and she's like kind of there, but
She's trying
She
to
can't
get her.
find
she
her.
can't find
Trying
her.
to get
So
her
it's
to
like,
wake
sure,
up.
she's her
Somewhere.
mind, she's brain dead. Maybe that's kind of a symbolism to that. But I'm
Right.
like, there's no way they're not going to bring her back. But I think there might be like an issue with like she might come back bad, or there might be an issue with something like that, which I think could be interesting.
Zombie Max? Confirmed?
No, but I think they're gonna.
Demogorgon Max.
I think they're gonna have to do something either with her or with Will.
So he, yeah. So
yeah,
that-
they're
that-
going to have to kill Will.
that is
no
a
way
cool,
around it.
interesting point because they are still they're saying Will can still feel him.
Yes.
Especially when now that they, by the way, 3 days later they make it back to Hawkins and everyone makes it back.
And Hopper gets back, and they have all that. Those were really great scenes. Everyone kind of getting back together.
Oh,
that was
the door
really well.
open like 3 inches.
Yeah, that was great. That was such a great-
Yeah, the
good.
reunion with them was really good. And there's a bunch of callbacks between
A lot
their
of callbacks.
conversations. That was really cool. Going back to the Max stuff, though, that shot of Max and Lucas. Got it. There's
Yeah,
John-
yeah,
John.
yeah. Nice job,
him
nice
like
job.
crying, and then it's all in the black, and 11's crying with them. Was such an awesome shot of just like showing like she's there with them, like experiencing their pain. And I do like that. I actually like the fact that she was like, no, like
Yeah, I'm not going to
let this happen, because we'd already
yeah.
established Owens had kind
Yeah.
of been talking about nothing's impossible
Yeah.
for you.
Right.
And then Mike had also talked about in his speech, he's like, you can move mountains,
Right.
you can do whatever you want, kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So we've got this power of belief kind of working in her, and then for her to tie it back to her memories with Max of being like,
Yeah, that
we're
was
girls, we make our own rules, kind of a thing. I thought that was really cool.
Who runs the world? Girls.
Exactly.
Who runs the world?
I thought that was really cool, and so I didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
I almost feel like just the way they left her, I was like, man, she probably would have been better off dead than blind and with 3 broken limbs.
Yeah,
I mean, 11
she's in a
can
tough
11
spot.
can probably fix her
Fix
up.
it.
I think, yeah. Sorry, let's just get into the whole. Just what do you guys think is the next part of this? Or do you want to say anything else?
No, because I mean, like we already talked about. There's the reunion, and then Will feels something
The
as
tinglies.
the clouds are coming
Yeah.
in, and there's just like clouds are coming in, red lightning everywhere.
Yeah.
The plants are all dying. He says Vecna's really hurt, but he's coming back. And that's kind of where it's left. I will say one more thing.
Okay.
The scene with Dustin and Eddie's
awesome.
uncle.
Oh my gosh.
That was that was out of all the
Dude.
scenes, that might have been my favorite scene where
That was great.
where he tells him, you know, I was with Eddie,
Yeah.
and
That's
then
all
he
he
says
wanted,
he was a
dude.
hero. Like that to me was a beautiful scene.
He wanted closure, and he also just wanted someone to freaking believe him.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
he knows who Eddie was, and that he's the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what he thought.
that was awesome.
And so it's like that's exactly what he needed to hear was someone else believed in Eddie and knew who he actually was. And everything that he said, he's like, he didn't run away. He
Right.
faces, you know,
Yeah,
he faced it
he
head
was
on.
he was a hero.
Saved this
Yeah.
town, dude. That was
Yeah,
great.
that was super
Great
good.
scene. So yeah, Corey, what do you think? What do you guys think?
Well, so Max, dead or alive?
She's coming back.
making it through.
Yeah,
it?
she's coming back.
I don't
I think so, too.
Yeah, I don't think
you
they
do that
tease
to
that. Yeah,
someone.
if it's going to be like she didn't make it, you know, that.
Yeah, could you imagine?
They're setting
First
something
episode
up.
of
Yeah.
next season, and they're like,
Yeah.
they're at the funeral for Max. And they're like, oh shoot.
I think Will is.
Think Will die?
I think Will is going to.
Like a self-sacrifice.
No, I think he's.
situation,
I think
or-
he's going to get possessed.
Okay.
No
yeah,
way.
so here's
But
the
he already
thing.
did, right?
Here, I,
They're not gonna do him like that again.
I think they will because he's never been. He even mentions that he's like, I've never been normal since that happened, and I think there's something there with him, and they're kind of using this whole. I think they're using. A lot of people are saying like, oh well, they're using this whole thing where he's gay, he's different. They're using that, but I think if they're using that, that's whatever. But I think they're doing it in a double way where they're saying like he's different. I think he's going to be used by Vecna in a way,
Okay.
and he's going to become like a pawn. I always bring up
Okay.
Lost, but I think they're going to do something similar to what they did with John Locke, where it's John Locke, but it's the Man in Black. I think that might be something they might do, and then ultimately, I think Will then sacrifices himself for Mike and 11 to be together. Does that make sense? So through the beginning of the season, he's like dealing with stuff. He then becomes possessed, and ultimately he sacrifices himself.
I disagree only with this. I think that the Jonathan and Will storyline was meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, but I think it'll have a payoff, a greater payoff. I think Jonathan will self-sacrifice himself to save Will.
So that Nance and Steve can be together.
Exactly.
yeah, the only reason I disagree with you is because it's a retread of what's already happened.
Okay.
He was already possessed, and he was like, "Oh, it's Will," but he wasn't really. He was the mind flayer, and
Okay.
so it's something we've already seen.
Okay.
It would literally be like,
So Will survives is what you said.
yeah, I'm saying Will survives no
And no
possession
possession
no
at all.
possession.
Vecna doesn't use him at all. I think
okay.
they're
because we've already seen that.
yeah, but I think that the shot
Old news, bro.
the shot
Okay.
that made me think that is they did the exact same shot where he like grabs his back
Yeah.
right there,
You get
and
that
they
tingle.
did that on purpose. It's not just to be like, oh, he feels them. I think the music, you see it on his face. Everyone else is happy, and yes, it's a retread, but it's like Star Wars. It's poetry. It rhymes. They can do something like that where it's. I think it's ultimately, if they've established that Vecna from the beginning has been doing this, he's not done with Will yet. That's what I think they're setting up. And I think, to me, it's like that shot was like, it's more than just like, oh, I can feel him. It's like there's something inside of him that's still attached to that. That's why I think that.
I mean, I agree to some degree. I think he will have a role to play. And it probably will have to do with his connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if he's going to get possessed, but that would make it very personal.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'd be a bad writing storyline. But
It'd be a bit of a lazy story.
It is a little lazy. I think maybe, what do you guys think is going to be the new bad guy? So obviously Vecna's still alive. So he still exists. So what do you guys think is going to be the big bad? As in, is this just a healed up Vecna again? Repeat, run it back?
The military.
Because that's repeating it all over. So you're thinking military?
The guys that are after 11.
Okay.
We saw them in episode 8. They never showed up in episode 9, but we know that they're willing to kill 11. I think they're going to play a bigger role.
Really?
I think they're coming in. And I think, again, this leads me back to the Will thing. It needs to be personal. Vecna isn't. We've already seen the big thing with Vecna. So what do you do to make it more personal, to bring the stakes higher? Is it has to be
At the
a character that we really like.
So Max.
It could be Max. I'm thinking it's one. To me, it's either Will or Max.
So zombie Max or possessed Will.
Yes, I think that's what it has to be, something like that, where you. To me, even though it's been done before, I think there's a ways you can do it that keep it like, hey, we've dealt with this before, but this is on a whole different level. Now the 4 gates are opened. He's got more power, but he's still weak. He needs to use a vessel, and I think that would really pull at the heartstrings to be like a moment with Will and Mike where one of them has to sacrifice for the other. I just think. We've seen in every season, 11 usually sacrifices, right? In season 1, everyone thinks she's dead.
Degree,
They did that again later, right? So I feel like they've done it in every season. I think now is going to be the moment where there actually is going to be someone that dies, and it has to give you a punch.
Okay. I think it's going to be like an Omega Vecna, basically. I think he's going to like fuse with the smoke guy, and like he's going to some like Vecna Zero or something sick. I think it's going to be more.
Form.
I think you're right. I think especially how this story has gone, just in general, it's always personal. It's always smaller scale. But the moment they broke those gates open and the whole town is consumed,
it's all open.
I think we're kind of at this like epic scale now, where I'm like, I could totally see the military guys showing up and him like mind controlling all of them, and then. Like 11 having to face like military people, like all this crazy stuff. I think it's just going to get more epic scale.
It has to. It has to go up bigger.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you, Corey. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be like, oh, it's a Will, so it needs to be personal. Because it's personal because we know who the bad guy is now. Like we have a relationship with Henry Vecna 1. We know who he is. We know his backstory. Whereas in the other seasons, it was always like, oh, who's the bad guy? Oh, it's the Demogorgon. Oh, it's the Mind Flayer. Now we know from the get-go who the bad guy is.
Yeah.
And I think we're like zeroed in on that target.
Yeah.
So I agree that he has to become kind of like ultimate.
I think that'll happen, but I think there's still going to, in addition to.
Okay.
Might as well throw in some mind control,
Well,
I really. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just think that, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a logical place to go with it. And there is an element where, again, if I'm bringing up Lost, there was something that was powerful about that, because it's like one of my favorite characters, and then you're seeing him doing things that you hate, but it made the climax of that show like so much better.
A little underwhelming.
Because that's a character you love, and you're like, man, I don't want him to be the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I think that brings, if they do it with Max, I think it would work better than Will, because we've seen it before. But that to me would be like, can you imagine how heartbreaking that would be? Like Lucas is fighting Max, and she doesn't, it's her, and it's Vecna, right? But for me, it's the same thing with Lost. Locke was dead, but it was the character that you'd seen for 7 years, 8 years, and you're like, that guy, I love that character.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'll say this. It's kind of to your point. This is starting to sound like an anime storyline where it's like someone takes over someone's body and
Right.
then they have to fight someone who they love.
Yes.
And it's that, right? And then you have to kind of
Like
plead-
Shadow Link.
It's
bro.
like you have to plead to their emotions, and she kind of battles Vecna for the body. Like, I've heard that story
Yeah.
before. That's the only reason why I'm a little hesitant to agree with you on it. But it doesn't sound bad. I think it sounds cool. I'm just concerned on the scale of it. And also Maxine's like super ripped up. She has broken hands, arms,
But
legs.
time
like,
passes. Like, it's not going to
but
be
it's
like
happening
this.
now, isn't it? Or do you think they're going to time jump again?
They're going to time jump.
Really?
I think if this isn't coming out for
I
2
think it's
years,
happening now.
no, I think they're going to have to. I think
Vecna's
it-
like waiting, like taking a full rest.
I think things are going to happen, but I think it might be
healing up?
like, oh, it's been a year since,
Wow.
and they've been dealing with like demidogs and all this stuff. The military's in there. They're like
but when
cordoned off, like
but
they're
they
in
would
a.
get rid of all the civies.
They
you
already
know?
left.
Not all.
They're
but
going
they
in,
would
but
get
most
rid of
people are
Hopper.
going out. So I'm just saying, like, I think it's going to be a thing where they're like, we need to resist for Hawkins. You're going to have a band of people that want to stay there. Everyone else has left. The military is like trying to get people out. There's that conflict between them, and they're like, we need to kill Vecna. We know he's still around here. They're hunting. I think that's kind of what they're going to go for.
Do we know how many episodes we get in this next
I have
one?
no idea.
No idea.
Because they're still writing it, you said, right?
Yeah, they haven't
Yeah.
finished it.
So I guess that's something we could kind of
I did see that they know how it's going to end. So
thank God.
There we go.
Thank
Good
God.
news.
Do you guys have an idea on how long it'll be? The last season?
nothing.
Do you know? I'm saying like guesses. What do you guys think? Do you
10
think it's gonna be a
episodes.
short one? Do you think it's gonna be a long one?
I think 9. I think they're going to. They've done an average of 9, right? On each one. I would say 9.
Have enough story to
I'd
tell.
say similar.
It feels like the end. It
Well, yeah,
feels. It feels like they're kind of running out. Of
Well,
stuff to tell.
they said that they were like this was going to
Yeah.
be the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Season 5 is the last one.
Interesting.
So I think
They got a lot of ways they can go with this, so I'm not too sure.
I think I
but-
could do 9 hours. They could easily do 10 hours.
Yeah.
Every
okay.
episode's about an hour, and
Yeah.
then the last episode, episode 9, is a 2-hour finale. I think you can totally.
Okay.
That's totally believable. I think they've handled every season well.
Yeah.
Where they give the backstory, where they introduce a new character. I think every new character they've introduced in each season has worked for me, and so I just think I trust that they know what they're going to do. So I'm excited for it. But
Okay.
2 years,
Random just idea. I think that I know it might not seem awesome, but I think they'll have the Wildcats, at least the main guy. I think he'll probably have a.
Oh,
He
died,
got
dude.
bisected, bro.
he got toasted.
Oh, that's right. In the crack.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
in the
got
house.
melted.
Yeah,
we
he's
saw a
gone.
skeleton and everything. That was crazy.
I don't think they're
he's-
bringing
he's
him
with-
back.
he's
Come
with-
back
Is he
as a
possessed?
demi dog.
He with Chrissy, boy.
He's coming with a demi dog. Yeah. Oh wow. And you know the other thing they didn't really address, right? It was the other kid who was having headaches and saw the clock.
Oh, he died. He was the one in the water.
Oh, that's right. He was
Yeah.
the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah. Well, so we'll see what happens. I think we've got like 3 years or 2 years.
2 years, they said, probably.
Ridiculous.
Something like that. Yeah.
That sucks. But yeah. Any other theories?
Alyssa will be graduated high school. She will be in college.
Jeez Louise.
Too old for Stranger Things.
Wow. Any other theories? Is that no call out?
No, I mean,
It was good, man. I really enjoyed it.
I think there's going to be a lot of deaths.
You think
Yeah.
so?
I think
so. there has to be.
Hopper probably doesn't make it.
Oh no. What?
Yeah, I think I think there's going to be some hard hitters that don't make it. I'm still not sure if you want like other people to sacrifice so that Mike and 11 and the kids make it out. So that means you have like maybe a Steve die,
I think
or
Steve
maybe like
dies.
Steve and Nance both die. I think Jonathan might die. Like I can see.
This guy said the same thing about this season, if you recall.
That is
Well,
true.
that's true, guys.
So-
I like killing people off, you know. No, I just think if I look at every character, I can see logical ways why they would kill them off, and that it would be meaningful. So I could do that with every character.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what they want to do.
That's just a testament to the story they've built.
Yes.
Well, you can see these deaths that just happened in these last episodes and how impactful they were
Yeah.
on us. Incredible. Oh,
What do you guys? Last thing, what do you guys rank this season? Is it the best one of all of them? Would you guys give it a
Yep, number one for sure.
number one?
Yeah, it's easy. The best
100%.
one they've done.
Okay. If you were to give it a rating,
The season just by itself.
season by itself.
Yeah, I'll give it I'll give it like a 9.2. Really good.
I really enjoyed the season.
Outstanding.
I think it's a 9.5.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say.
for sure.
Too
Since
bad.
we can't have the
You already
same.
took it.
Can't have the same.
9.49.
9. I'll go 9.6. I'll go one higher because I'm better than you. By
Wow.
one by
Wow.
0.1.
That's not true.
Are you guys gonna have one of those bro moments where you like talk afterwards?
No,
and,
we don't talk anymore.
Okay, I got
We
it.
don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore.
Dude, that's super good.
Yeah.
That season was excellent.
Yeah, it was
and,
great.
and I actually like that they delayed the last 2 episodes because it kind of like gave you like time to breathe and also take in the more like the beginning of that season.
Yeah.
Because how like I watched both of these back to back, by the way. So that's why I was kind of like I wasn't sure about the length of it.
Yeah.
Because it all kind of melded together. And I would have hated for these 2 to meld with the other ones right
Yeah,
behind
absolutely.
it. So I actually really liked how they delayed it.
Yep.
You know. But
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Is that it? I think
I think
I think
that's
that's
it.
pretty much it.
Stranger Things. Not going to see you for another
For a
2
while.
years.
I heard they're doing a spin-off potentially.
No.
But
The Surfer Boys.
The Duffer Brothers are trying to find someone else to do a spin-off. They wouldn't do it.
Who would you do
I
it
don't know.
Interesting.
after?
I don't know. I mean, they
What
could do stuff with
characters?
like, in a different part of like they've done with Walking Dead, where it's like, these guys are
yeah,
in
and
New
how's
York.
that work?
Yeah, but if you don't
Oh.
have L, it's kind of.
Well, you could follow the X-Men that they did in that season 3.
That's
but,
true.
I mean,
that's
but
true.
everyone
they've
hated
set
that.
up pretty.
Yeah.
They've set up some stuff that they could do, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for us this week. Make sure you subscribe and like on our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. Listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts, we're there. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We kind of periodically post stuff there.
Yeah, random stuff.
So yeah, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we'll be back next week, probably with the full crew. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.